It is a time for us to reflect on how the disease has touched each of us personally. And it is a time for us to look inside ourselves with quiet reflection and find hope. Because no matter what our experience with cancer has been, we all share the hope that we will one day live in a world where our children and their children will never have to hear the words, "You have cancer." Our track is illuminated tonight by Luminaria. Each one represents a treasured relationship. These represent people, and each has a name and a story to tell. They are our mothers, our fathers, our sisters, our brothers, our sons, our daughters, our friends, and our loved ones. As they glow through the night, they represent our shared vision for a cancer-free future. We love the people these Luminaria represent, and we remember them, celebrate them, and fight back against this disease for them. So please welcome Abby to the stage.
Hi, my name is Abby Lehrheimer. I'm a fashion marketing student here at SCAD. I'm a sophomore and I'm from Evergreen, Colorado. So, on Tuesday, February 17th, 2009, my dad went to the doctor with a slight pain in his right side and some fatigue. Basically, it felt like he was going to the doctor for nothing. It seemed to the doctor like gallstones, so he went in for an ultrasound. The results showed an enlarged liver, and with immediate CT scan, masses were discovered in his liver. Next, a biopsy was done on one of the masses, and that evening, my family received the news that it was malignant. It was confirmed that my dad did have stage 4 colon cancer. This means it's cancer in the most advanced stage and malignancies in both the colon and the liver, which is the most common site of colon cancer. Now, hopefully most of you know that the liver is a vital organ, so please treat it well. Meaning, you can't live without your liver, and simply put, getting a new one doesn't fix a problem, nor just removing the masses fix the problem. The next step for my dad was chemotherapy and radiospheres. Within a month of the news, he was doing both. Mind you, he was only 41 years old, never drank alcohol, was not a smoker, and was very fit and healthy. His disease was completely untraced, and doctors still don't know where it came from. The popular belief that you should get a colonoscopy after you turn 50 is a lie. This can happen to anyone at any time, so please don't wait to get checked. I don't mean to scare anyone by my dad's story because I don't think cancer should be a scary thing, and we shouldn't find it fearful. Besides, there isn't a good reason to bring horror stories to your family, friends, or to anyone dealing with the disease. If you think they need a wake-up call to how serious cancer is, be sure that they don't. If you think that you're preparing them for the worst, please know that you can't. And if, like Hamlet's king, your words fly up without thought, then they're probably best kept to yourself. Someone you know may have suffered or died. You may have suffered in some way too. But what we need as survivors, fighters, and caregivers is hope, success, comfort, and thoughtfulness, not fear. But that doesn't mean that we don't have permission to worry for a while. I worried all the time about my dad. I would sit in school consumed by the thoughts of losing him and would cry myself to sleep most nights. But in the end, I had to put a stop to it, although sometimes I couldn't quite do that. But eventually it does stop. I guess the lesson here for me is, and for many of us, is that we can't be consumed by our fears, but sometimes we can't stop it either. There's a balance there somewhere. No one was going to come up to me and say, even with the best results, okay, your dad is completely better now. Instead, we had to be very watchful, without worrying too much. No problem, right? On the other hand, the truth that I held on to, and known by so many, is that today is today, and that's what we live for. And that is what my dad lived for. And that regrets are usually over time we spent worrying, fretting, and preoccupying ourselves over matters we cannot control. So easier said than done, my family and I were committed to avoiding the worries that produce regret, and committed to enjoying things given to us. I remember my dad becoming very tired and very weak after about 6 months of his treatment. But eventually all of us got used to that. Sometimes he would fall asleep on the couch after dinner for a long time. Usually he would be in bed before I was. Once in a while he would get downstairs before me in the morning, but not very often. And a lot of the times we would leave for school without seeing him, which always made the day seem darker and colder and earlier than it really was. I think getting used to something and understanding it are two different things. I didn't always understand how sick my dad really was, but I did have to get used to it. I also know that getting used to something and liking it are two very different things. The reality of the situation was that my dad was very, very sick, and of course no one likes that, but again, had to get used to it. My dad was a hero, a true fighter, and he never gave up. He fought the good fight. He never once complained, demanded anything, and never broke down in front of us kids, although I know he must have sometimes with my mom. He continued to work until he was not able and didn't have the energy. He continued to pick me up from school and drop me off so that he could have little time with me each day. He would offer to drive me to my gymnastics meets even though I know he didn't have the energy to make the few hours drive. He still came to every school event, every sporting event that me and my siblings had, no matter how uncomfortable the bleachers were to him or if he had to bring a pillow to lie down. He was so selfless, so caring, so loving towards not only his family, but everyone, despite the fact that this horrible disease was ravaging his body day by day. Now this may seem like a barren time in my life, about 4 years ago, and it may seem like a barren time in my dad's life, but know that he did not view it that way. He did feel like something was taken from him. He was taken from where he wanted to be. He was someone whose life changed suddenly and in a certain sense cruelly. Someone whose expectations of life changed one day. But that didn't change his attitude towards the world or the precious time spent with his family. On my 16th birthday, July 13th, 2010, over a year after his diagnosis, my dad was taken from a week in the critical care unit at Swedish Hospital in Denver, Colorado, to a hospice center. Basically, hospice is a type of care and philosophy of care that focuses on the terminally ill. They attend to pains, symptoms, or needs, including emotional and spiritual needs, so that the patient is comfortable as possible, even though treatment has stopped. The chemotherapy wasn't working. My dad had become very weak. I remember him falling down at home and he couldn't get up. He was brought to the critical care unit to the hospital that day. I knew, the doctors knew, and my family knew that we were going to have to say goodbye. My dad stayed in the hospital for 3 days before he was moved to hospice care. I had a journal that I wrote in about my days visiting him. I wrote what I did each day and how I felt. He loved to hear about our days and I would read to him every night. He would always smile and appreciate what I had to say, even when he didn't even have the strength to speak anymore. It has journal entries that are written specifically for him and directly to him, and I would like to share one of my entries with you. Hi, Dad. I just want you to come home, even if it's for a little while, because I want you to see the miraculously clean house. I put up the town of Bethlehem, New York blanket in your and Mom's room just like you asked. It really is something special. We also got you flowers today because I know those always make you feel better and brighten up the room. I miss you, and I know you're not gone yet, but I just miss you being at home. I know there's always a sense of security in the house when you're home, and I just wish we could see you more. You're always at the doctor or having your treatment. This all happened so fast. Today, the critical care unit nurse got confused when I was visiting and thought I had a different dad. She wasn't trying to be mean, but that comment kind of got under my skin. I mean, why else would I be here with a bunch of Caucasian strangers at Swedish Hospital and Critical Care Unit C? I'm adopted, if you didn't quite catch that. I will always remember you with a bushy beard, a full head of hair, and 180 pounds because I know that's how you want us to remember you, not the body that the cancer took over and ravaged. I don't want to remember you so weak and tired because I know you didn't want our lives to become all about cancer. You wanted us to keep doing gymnastics, go skydiving, train for our half marathons, and write a novel to be published in high school. I hope we make you proud to be our dad because you always make me so proud. I look up to you. You are very unselfish. I wish you could be here when I graduate high school, or get mad or concerned when I get a real boyfriend. Help me stay motivated to college search and walk me down the aisle one day. But I know these are all selfish reasons, and I want you here for me. I know you would have wanted to be there with all of us as we grow up, but it's not about me anymore. It's not about any of us. It's about you and the awesome time you're going to have in heaven, pain-free. but I just miss you so much already, and saying goodbye is just too hard. I'm sure everyone here, just like myself, hates goodbyes. Actually, I'm not sure I've met anyone who likes goodbyes. Goodbyes aren't just physical, but the thought of missing someone, and ends with the message of, we'll say so long, not goodbye, which is great, but it does avoid the whole problem, doesn't it? The problem being none of us like saying goodbye. Saying goodbye touches our finite nature, our fragility, our utter lack to control the life we live. Our lives are fragile and finite, but that doesn't stop us from doing exactly what we want in life. Even a life-threatening disease didn't stop my dad from working, learning, exploring, loving, and living his life just as if he didn't have cancer. And obviously, such a smart, loving, and caring person as my dad created strong bonds with so many people. Those bonds, in my mind and everyone's that knew him, are his legacy, and a remarkable one at that. Bonds that cannot be bought. It has to be earned by one's actions over time, consistently, and genuine care for other people. We are here tonight to celebrate the people who we have lost to this horrible, devastating disease. When we find a cure for cancer, we will be victorious. But until that day, we have to celebrate, appreciate, and cherish the small accomplishments that we make every day. In a blog my dad kept during his journey, he wrote, "I will celebrate a clear scan, meaning remission, the same way I will celebrate a full moon, or writing here on this blog, or a great talk with my wife last night, or my daughter's first cross-country meet. We will take each day as it comes and choose to be thankful for what's in front of us." And I completely agree. I love you, Dad. Thank you.
Cancer has no preference. It takes young, old, fathers, mothers, brothers, sisters, husbands, wives, best friends, old friends, and dear friends. If you are honoring your mother or father, please crack your glow stick now. If you are honoring a husband or wife, please crack your glow stick now. If you are honoring a son or daughter, please crack your glow stick. If you are honoring your grandma or grandpa, please crack your glow stick. If you are honoring your aunt, uncle, cousins, or other relatives, please crack your glow stick. Friends are treasures that can never be replaced. If you are honoring friends or neighbors, please crack your glow stick. And for anyone else that you want to honor tonight. For those whose memory we honor tonight, this light represents the love we shared. It still burns for others to see, but it burns brightest in our hearts and in our souls. You were and will always be a part of us. Though we do not see you, we know you are with us. For those who are currently fighting the battle or have won, these lights are lit as our continued commitment to the fight.
The question most frequently asked of American Cancer Society volunteers on Relayers is, why do you do this event year after year? You may look at the person and realize that they don't get it, and wonder if there's any way to explain how Relay changes people's lives. How do you explain the story of the newly diagnosed cancer patient who attends a Relay and meets another cancer survivor who has had the same exact disease and is still alive? How do you explain the story of a caregiver who has traveled down a path of compassion, love, joy, sorrow, guilt, loss, and depression? You explain how, at Relay, the caregiver can talk to the only other person who could possibly understand this difficult journey, another caregiver. How do you explain the story of a friend or coworker who has seen someone they know battle this deadly disease and has felt they could do so very little to help?
You have lived, and you